Welcome to our deep dive into The Blood of Dawnwalker, this upcoming dark fantasy RPG from Rebel Wolves and Bandai Namco.
Yeah, and it's got that pedigree, right? Veterans from The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That immediately gets your attention.
Exactly. So today we're looking at the first real gameplay overview they released, trying to figure out what makes this one tick.
Our goal is really to, unpack the mechanics, the ideas behind the narrative, give you a solid picture before it lands in, 2026?
Right.
And what jumps out right away, for me at least, is this focus on real player agency. Feels like a core pillar.
Okay, so let's get right into that. The absolute core mechanic seems to be this character, Coen, human by day.
Vampire by night, yeah.
And it's not just for show, is it? It actually changes how you play moment to moment.
Oh, absolutely. During the day, you're essentially human Coen in Zatro, the capital. You need food, consumables to heal.
Standard RPG stuff, then, for daytime.
Kinda, yeah. You can walk into the cathedral, public places, no problem.
Yeah.
In some areas,
Walks off?
you're just a regular guy.
But then night hits, and that's where it's interesting, right? As a vampire, what changes? The movement, maybe.
Totally. You get these cool vampire abilities. There's shadow step, like a quick dash, good for closing distance or escaping.
Yeah.
And plane shift. This lets you, walk on walls, ceilings. It opens up completely different routes. Think climbing scaffolding on that cathedral you could only enter before.
Wow, okay, so verticality becomes a big thing. Finding secrets, avoiding patrols.
Exactly. But here's the trade-off. Your health bar. It becomes a hunger meter. You need to feed.
Ah, okay. So managing that hunger, how does that work? Is it just bite the nearest person? Or are there, consequences?
There definitely are. You can feed on NPCs, but draining someone important, that can have ripple effects, unpredictable outcomes down the line. It really leans into that choice and consequence idea.
So you could maybe choose not to feed on people, find other ways.
Yeah, you can hunt animals, other creatures, if you want to avoid harming innocents. It's up to you how you manage that hunger, and the game seems to track those choices.
Okay, moving on to combat. Human or vampire, they want you to feel like a real sword master. It sounds less like button mashing, more observational.
That's the vibe, yeah. It's directional. You pick one of 4 directions to attack, up, down, left. You got to hit where they aren't blocking.
And vice versa, I assume. You have to watch their attack direction to parry.
Precisely. Observation is key. And when you land hits, or defend successfully, you build up these activation charges.
What do those do? Special moves?
Yeah. Tactical abilities. Things like Occur Dust to stun enemies, or Burning Blood, which is like a damage over time hex.
Ooh, hexes. So there's magic.
Definitely. And then there's Artery Attack. Sounds like a pretty brutal finisher, maybe even decapitation.
Nice. And how does progression work with this dual nature? Separate skills?
3 skill trees, actually. One for human Coen, one for vampire Coen, and then one they share. So you can specialize or balance.
And the magic system. You mentioned hexes.
Yeah, it sounds dark, ritualistic. Casting hexes actually costs you health.
Yeah.
So there's a risk-reward element.
But maybe ways to mitigate that cost.
Seems like it. They mentioned a skill called Frugal Witchcraft to reduce the health cost. Oh, and get this. Compel Soul. You can use it on dead NPCs.
To do what? Talk to ghosts.
Sort of. To learn secrets, get information you wouldn't otherwise find. Pretty neat way to handle lore discovery.
Okay, pulling back a bit. All these mechanics, the day-night, the combat, the choices, how do they fit into the bigger picture, the narrative sandbox idea?
Right, that seems to be the overarching philosophy. It's not just about following a set path. When you tackle a quest, who you interact with, who you maybe anger, it all shapes your specific story.
So less distinction between main quests and side quests. It's all just your journey.
That's what they're saying. It's about the stories you weave together. Your actions have weight. Like if you start raiding those vampire blood transports, guards will become more suspicious. Maybe you'll have to rely more on stealth at night. The world reacts.
That sounds genuinely dynamic. And the world itself, is it gated or fully open?
Fully accessible from the start, apparently. And exploring doesn't automatically advance time, which is interesting.
How does time advance then?
Only when you undertake specific marked quests. So time, the day-night cycle, it becomes more like a resource you manage for quests, rather than this constant clock chasing you. It gives you freedom.
Freedom to explore, investigate.
Yeah.
Maybe stumble into trouble.
Absolutely. You might encounter powerful characters like Xanthi. She's supposedly the oldest vampire in the city, has her own quests.
And you decide how to deal with her. Fight, talk.
Seems like it. Confront her head on, try to reason with her. Again, player choice dictating the narrative flow.
So, wrapping this up, What's the big takeaway for someone listening? The Blood of Dawnwalker sounds like it's really trying to deliver on that promise of a reactive world.
Yeah, I think so. The way your dual nature and your moment-to-moment decisions genuinely seem to affect the story and the gameplay. It's ambitious.
It really feels like the combination of that deep combat, the dark magic, and this player-driven sandbox could make each playthrough feel, well, pretty unique.
Exactly. A game where your path is truly yours to make.
A game where you're not just following the dots, but actively shaping your own story, maybe even your own fate without fully realizing it. Definitely want to keep an eye on as we wait for 2026.